Good afternoon, AFSCME family. Let's give Stephen some love for that fantastic introduction. He taught me a lot too on the doors that day. And what a fantastic sight all of you are. There is nothing better than being in a room full of so many fierce AFSCME activists, especially when we got pumped up by Governor Walz. Thank you for your leadership, your vision, your passion. Every time our neighbors drive over a smooth road or drink a glass of clean water or pick up their child from a caregiver, they see our impact. They feel the difference that we make. And it's not just what we do that makes us frontline and fearless, it's how we do it. With pride, with care, with unwavering dedication to our communities. Before we dig into the present moment, let me take you on a journey into the past. We're headed about 350 miles north to San Jose, California in the late 1970s. City employees in AFSCME Local 101, Council 57 were frustrated because job categories dominated by women were undervalued and underpaid. So the union pushed the city to conduct a study of the pay levels in all municipal job categories. And the results were clear. Job segregation existed and women were clustered in the lowest paying jobs. But guess what the boss's brilliant solution was? Steal from the workers' cost of living increases to close the gap. AFSCME members said, hell no to that. The day after their contract expired, they walked off the job and began the first pay equity strike in American history. When management sent them letters threatening to fire them if they didn't get back on the job, they broke out a barbecue grill in front of City Hall and burned those letters. 10 days later, they settled the strike. They won cost of living increases for all employees and a separate pool of money to close pay equity gaps. That victory fanned the flames of pay equity campaigns in AFSCME across the country, from Washington State to Minnesota to Connecticut. It demonstrated AFSCME's leadership on the issue of pay equity for women and people of color. And it reminds us of the power of collective action then and now. You can clap for that, that's what we do. Yesterday, President Saunders laid out our vision and our path forward as a union. We have a responsibility to carry the torch onward. We are the union to do it. You are the people to do it. And this is the moment to make history. So AFSCME family, let's talk about this moment. In every corner of this country, workers are rising up. Whether you're a social worker, or a healthcare provider, or a public safety officer, there is a place for you in our movement. Every new worker who joins us gives us all greater strength. And that's exactly what terrifies bosses and billionaires the most. A working class that stands up when they tell us to sit down. We will not be put down or pushed aside, because we must stand up for our freedoms. Our freedom to retire with dignity. Our freedom to enjoy time off with a new baby or take a loved one to the doctor. Our freedom to organize and bargain collectively. These freedoms define who we are as a movement and what we are fighting for. And the public supports unions at levels we haven't seen since the 1960s. And that support keeps climbing. And it's because when we fight for ourselves and our coworkers, we stand up for all workers. At a time when faith in all kinds of institutions is eroding in our country, confidence in unions is rock solid. We are the best source of information and inspiration for our coworkers. And that gives us one hell of an opening. It gives us the opportunity to connect with members in a way that few others can through our union. So let's talk about our union. Our union is powerful because we are a democracy. It's not always easy. It's not always pretty. It's not always speedy. But it's a core value of our union. It's right on the first page of our AFSCME Constitution. It reads, "One of the fundamental tenets of democratic government is the consent of the governed." Unions are an extension of that idea. We fight for democracy in the workplace. We participate in democracy in our cities, counties, states, and federal government. And we practice democracy in our union. Our union is powerful because we are primed for action. We are mobilizers and movers and shakers. Whether it's a pandemic or a staffing crisis or a natural disaster, we are on the front lines, even if it means putting yourself in harm's way to help others. We are a union that rushes in to care for others in so many ways. Everywhere I go, I meet AFSCME members who are foster parents, church deacons, PTA members, Army Reserve volunteers. Your service to others is not a 9 to 5, it's a 365. You are the face of public service and the fabric of our communities. And that is why our union is so powerful, because it is full of passionate leaders, local union presidents and treasurers and trustees and stewards. Our union is lifted up by your work. It might mean drinking late night coffee or getting up before the sunrise. It might mean you're the first to arrive at a meeting and the last to leave. It might mean making tough decisions, but you do it because the union matters to you and your family, to your coworkers, and to the entire working class. So now, let's talk about you. At every convention, I'm blown away by the power that fills this hall. The stories, the talents, the experiences. Whether you care for our parks or care for our kids. Whether you're brand new to the union or you've earned your retiree status. Whether you live in a suburb, a small town, or a big city. This union belongs to each of us. No matter our differences, we stand together. Our opponents want to twist those differences into division. But we know diversity is not a defect, and inclusion is not just a buzzword. Our superpower is multiracial, working class solidarity. And we're going to need that superpower this fall because our nation is at a crossroads moment. Our freedoms, our families, our futures are on the ballot in 2024. And it's our role as leaders to define what's at stake through conversations with our coworkers, our family, and our friends. And one of the best places to start is with voter registration, because our voices have more power when we vote and we speak on behalf of other members who vote. But here's the truth, AFSCME family. We have a voter registration gap in our union. 1 in every 4 AFSCME members is not registered to vote. Can you hear me now? 1 in 4. I am asking you, right here, right now to go home and register them. We can do it. And then we've got to get AFSCME members to the polls so that on Wednesday, November 6th, we can shout for joy on the day after the election, knowing that we saved our democracy and saved our union. We can do it. These are the moments when I think of a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is the time for vigorous, positive action." AFSCME family, we have the opportunity, we have the power, and we feel the fierce urgency of now. So we are left with this question: what does this moment demand of us? First, we must make our union a welcoming place for all members, to all our coworkers, whether they've joined yet or not, because almost every person in this room joined our union because somebody reached out to you. Maybe on your first day on the job, maybe it took a couple years, but you felt the pull to join us. There was a moment in your leadership journey where someone welcomed you, encouraged you, mentored you. Be that someone to others. Invite them to join our AFSCME family by becoming a member. Inform them about our campaigns and priorities. Include them in our union meetings and actions, and inspire them by sharing our vision and victories. Second, we can stand up to this moment by setting ambitious goals. If you were an AFSCME member in 2018, you may remember when the U.S. Supreme Court handed down the Janus decision, making the entire public sector right to work. Our opponents thought it was going to be a knockout blow to our union, but they did not know how prepared we were. They did not know that President Saunders had challenged us to have 1 million conversations with our coworkers. Well, we met that goal, didn't we? And we blew past it. We did. We survived and thrived in the wake of the Janus decision because we set an ambitious goal and we kept it front and center. And some AFSCME locals have pushed themselves even further by setting a straightforward goal of being 100% union, making sure everyone in the bargaining unit is a member. There are locals in this hall who have done just that and are 100% union at the local level. If we turn our aspirations into concrete goals, we're more likely to achieve them. So do not be daunted by the big goals. We've done it before, we'll do it again. And this week is the perfect opportunity to think about what goals you want to set with other local union leaders when you return home. Because that is when the real work happens, the positive, vigorous action that Dr. King called for. The action that will meet the fierce urgency of this moment. Whether you're holding a clipboard, registering folks to vote, or standing on a doorstep, talking to a worker about joining our union, or marching for respect on the job, or sitting at the bargaining table, or telling your story to legislators. Every action you take, every obstacle you hurdle over, every dream you help realize shapes our future. We've all been in a room where people say and are complaining and say, somebody ought to do something. Well, guess what? You are that somebody. We cannot wait for someone else. We're called to be gutsy, to be bold, to be brave. Brave like the San Jose city workers who lit their bosses' letters on fire for gender equity. Brave like every group of workers who take the leap of faith to organize a union where none existed before. Brave like every AFSCME member who has protested and testified and rallied and mobilized for workers' rights, civil rights, women's rights. They carried the torch for us. Now it's our turn to take hold of it and run. I want to leave you with an image from the AFSCME archives that has stayed with me. It's a sketch published 40 years ago of workers doing the essential work that make our cities happen. Pushing a wheelchair, fixing a steel beam, holding a crossing guard sign, and underneath it reads, "Have no fear, AFSCME is here." In good times and hard times, we find strength in our union. We draw courage from our union. We light the way through our union, from Denver to Detroit, from Washington State to Washington, D.C., from New Orleans to New York City. Have no fear, AFSCME is here. Say it with me. Have no fear, AFSCME is here. Have no fear, AFSCME is here. Thank you.